So hello everyone, welcome back to the Concept Lab. Today we are going to start a new chapter, Motion in One Dimension from ICSE Class 9th Physics. So this chapter is actually one of the most important chapters in physics because many concepts you will study later are based on what you learn here. So instead of memorizing definitions, let's try to understand each concept step by step. By the end of this lesson, you will clearly understand what a motion is and why we use terms like distance, displacement, speed, velocity and acceleration. So keep your notebook ready, and if you have any doubts while watching the video, you can always pause, think about it and continue. Alright, let's begin with the first concept. What do you mean by motion? Suppose you are sitting inside a moving bus. The person next to you doesn't seem to be moving. But if someone's standing outside the bus, they'll say both of you are moving along with the bus. So is the passenger in the bus moving? Depends upon who is observing. So this brings us to an important point in physics. An object is said to be in motion if its position changes with time with respect to its surroundings or a reference point. An object is said to be at rest if its position doesn't change with time with respect to its surroundings or a reference point. So now that we know what the state of motion and the state of rest means, let's get to know what are the physical quantities. So what's a physical quantity? These are the quantities which can be measured. For example, length can be measured, mass can be measured, and time can also be measured. And there are several quantities which we will get to know later. So these are called the physical quantities. Now from the physical quantities, we have further two divisions. First one, scalar quantities, and the second one, vector quantities. Now what's a scalar quantity? These are the physical quantities which are expressed only by their magnitude. For example, if we say that the mass of a body is 5 kilograms, it has a complete meaning and we are completely expressing the mass of the body. There are two parameters in which the scalar quantities can be expressed. First one, the unit. Here we take the kilogram. And the second one is the numerical value. Here it's the 5. So 5 kilogram itself shows the unit and the numerical value. So that's about the scalar quantity. Now let's move on to the vector quantity. These are the physical quantities which require both magnitude and direction. For example, if we say Rahul moved 5 kilometers east, we are not only expressing its magnitude but also expressing its direction of the magnitude. Let's move on to our main topic, the motion in one dimension. Now before we study the motion in one dimension, let's first understand what a dimension is. Think of it in this way. Imagine an ant is walking on a straight line. It can only move forward or backward. It has only one possible direction to move, that is forward and backwards. Now imagine an ant walking on the floor. The ant has four possible directions to move: the forward and backward, and the right, left. Now this is called two-dimensional motions because it has two independent directions to move. Now finally imagine a bird flying in the sky. It can move forward, backward, left, right, up and down. Now this is called the three-dimensional motions because it has three independent directions to move. So in simple words, a dimension tells us how many independent directions an object can move in. One-dimensional motion, one direction along a straight line. So two dimensions, two directions on a flat surface. Three dimensions, three directions in space. Since this chapter is called motion in one dimension, we'll only study objects moving along a straight line, like a train on a straight track or a car moving on a straight road.